Confession. I pretended to be deaf. Then she asked me out. So, about 3 months ago, or whenever the quarantine started, I signed up for an online course in a few subjects. To give you some context, these weren't school classes or anything. I didn't know anyone, and we were just a small group of about 10 students with a surprisingly great teacher. The first 2 days went smoothly, but on the third day, I majorly screwed up. We were in the middle of a physics class that had already been going on for over an hour, and I'd completely zoned out halfway through. I have an incredibly low attention span, and this was already stretching it. When the teacher called on me to answer a question, I had no clue what he'd been talking about. I panicked and tried to Google the topic, but my internet is trash, so the page took forever to load. Meanwhile, the teacher was getting annoyed, wondering why I wasn't replying and why I was furiously typing. So, in full panic mode, I messaged him in the Google Meet chat and came up with a desperate excuse. I told him that my laptop's audio and mic weren't working that day, and that I'd been reading the subtitles, which were slow to load, so I hadn't caught the question. In my panicked brain, I typed this out vaguely. I can't actually hear. I've been reading the subtitles. They take quite some time to load. To which the teacher responded, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't aware that you're deaf." And in my complete anxiety spiral, I went along with it. Yeah, dumb as hell. But surprisingly, it worked. I started typing out all my answers, pretending to rely on subtitles. I even bought a hearing aid and wore it during class sometimes. I say sometimes because I'm not exactly the most consistent person. When classmates asked why I didn't always wear it, I told them that it doesn't help much and that I usually don't bother. They believed me, and honestly, everyone in class started liking me. Like, a lot. They found me endearing, especially one girl, Carla. She once said I have the most beautiful smile she's ever seen. Things were going suspiciously well, but like most of my schemes, it eventually backfired. At the time, I figured there was no risk. We were never going to meet in real life. But then, about a week ago, the instructor decided we should all finally meet up, since lockdown had ended in our country. Cue full-blown panic. I spent the night watching videos about how deaf people behave, trying to mimic it. I even decided I'd pretend to be mute too. Speaking like a deaf person seemed really hard, and I didn't trust myself to pull it off. The day of the meetup arrived. I wore the hearing aid, kept quiet, nodded a lot, and made it through. No one suspected a thing. I ended up spending the whole time with Carla. And let me just say, she's absolutely stunning in real life. Smart, funny, warm. We passed little handwritten notes on tissues all day. It was disgustingly adorable. Then, right near the end of the meetup, she handed me one final note. It said, "Will you date me?" I froze. I panicked and told her I needed some time to think. She seemed chill about it, but inside I was freaking out. I knew I couldn't keep up the act if we actually started dating. It would be exhausting and unsustainable. But telling her the truth might mean losing her completely, and I really didn't want that either. I had two options: keep lying and give up a potential real relationship, come clean and risk everything. Then, plot twist. She texted me asking what time I'd be picking her up. Turns out the date was tonight, not tomorrow, like I'd thought. Disaster speedrun mode activated. The date I prepared as best I could. I Googled flowers to apologize for lying and bought white orchids. They supposedly symbolize sincerity. I dressed sharp, rehearsed in my head how I might confess, and headed out. Carla showed up to the date with a cute little notepad and 2 pencils for us to write back and forth. That immediately melted me and also made me feel even worse. At first, I couldn't bring myself to tell her, but as we waited for our order, the guilt consumed me. I broke and scribbled in the notebook, "Hey, there's no easy way to say this, but I'm not actually deaf or mute." She looked at me and smiled. Then she wrote, "I know you're not deaf, but you're pretty dumb." I literally said out loud, "What the f?" She laughed. Turns out, she had Googled me weeks ago, found my Instagram, watched videos of me screaming at concerts and singing along. She'd known the truth the whole time. She only asked me out because she found me cute and was curious to see how long I'd keep the act going. So yeah, she played me. At first, I was kind of bummed. Like, did she only like me as a joke? But I owned up, apologized sincerely, and even showed her this Reddit post to explain the whole mess. She read the post, laughed, said it was adorkable. I told her I'd